What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video. And today, once again, is all about scrub pythons. So to me, maybe the absolute best aspect of scrub pythons is just how variable the complex is, be it different color, pattern combinations, all different colors of the rainbow. Really, there's kind of something for everybody within scrub pythons. And with that said, today is all about the most colorful of the scrub pythons. When it comes to natural coloration, some of these species and locality types of scrub pythons are amongst the most colorful within all of the pythons. So if you're looking for a really beautiful, colorful snake, it's a great place. So today I'm excited to kind of dig into this topic a little bit and show you guys some of my favorite scrub pythons that are the most colorful and kind of explain a little bit of what you're going to be expecting if you're going to get into keeping any of these scrubs. All right, so to start the video off with a bang, we have this guy right here. This is one of my male orange highland or rainforest phase scrub pythons. And if you are looking for orange and scrub pythons, this might be the best place to look. I mean, this guy right here, he's a very high-end individual for his locality type, and his orange is just absolutely popping. This locality is part of the southern scrub python clade, kind of the most northern ranging within the southern scrub pythons, and they do share a lot of characteristics, the ones further north towards the mountain range, the ones further south towards the ocean. Obviously, some of the distinguishing factors are that orange coloration, and then also these kind of lateral orange bars that are coming right up from the ventral that you can see on this guy here. Other animals within the southern region will kind of show some of these phenotypes to different degrees, but you never really get it to this extreme aside from the ones that are from that kind of rainforest habitat in the northern portion of the southern range, kind of at the basin of the central dividing mountain range of Papua New Guinea. So as far as getting a highly colored scrub python goes, it's hard to beat this right here. These have been produced a handful of times now in captivity. This male right here is a wild caught. Very fortunate to get one that is as nice as he is. And he is not bred for me yet, but with all luck, that'll change potentially next year. So definitely excited for that. But yeah, just overall, as far as a colorful locality of scrub pythons goes, it's really hard to beat these. Now we're taking a look at another highland scrub python. This is a female that I produced back in 2023. So she's closing in on 3 years old now, and really nice, cool look on her, but very different than the male. Her pattern is much, much more muted, where from a distance you could think she might be patternless, but you come up close and she actually does have a decent amount of pattern. It's just a little bit more on the aberrant side and on the lower contrast side. And as well, obviously, from the jump, you can see a very major difference too is in her color, which is kind of more of a golden brown with orange undertones, as opposed to the male whose primary color is that nice bright orange. So at the end of the day, we say highland or rainforest phase or whatever to make a distinction between these animals and then the more savanna phase southerns, the more brown and tan ones. They're all at the end of the day pretty much the same animals. And what's really cool about southern scrubs is that there's a ton of variety in pretty much every single breeding that we see. Both from a color standpoint and a pattern standpoint, where with Barnecks per se, there's usually a lot of pattern variety within any pairing, but usually not a whole lot of color variety. With that said, you will get different variations, different degrees of that orange within different clutches. So to get a very high expression extreme orange animal is not quite a guarantee all the time. With that said, though, the color really still does pop on an animal like this, maybe just not quite to the extreme degree as that male we just took a look at. So not necessarily to discourage anybody from getting into this locality, but definitely just something to keep in mind. And with that said, though, definitely look at the parents. So for this clutch here that I produced, the dad was very, very orange, while the mom wasn't quite so orange. She was more that golden brown color. She herself didn't have a whole lot of orange in her necessarily, but she had that kind of cool dark wash, that really cool gold coloration that some of the highland animals get. And it really made for an interesting pairing that threw a ton of variety in the offspring. So if you want a more orange individual, you're looking at somebody's pairing and you see two parents that have very high orange coloration, you can be pretty certain that the babies are going to develop to be something like the parents. So something to keep in mind if you're wanting to get into the highlands, kind of be on the lookout for exactly what you're going for, because honestly, I could see some people preferring this phenotype right here over the phenotype of the male we just saw. So there's something for everybody. Southern scrubs are super variable. One of the things that makes them very amazing, and an animal like this is just stunning to me. All right, so a couple back-to-back recent appearances for this guy here on the channel, but when I'm doing a video about colorful scrub pythons, I have no choice. And he just shed for us this morning, so little added extra incentive to have him on the video. But of course, This is my male Xanthic patterned Tanimbar scrub python. So Tanimbar scrubs in general have obviously a lot of variety when it comes to both the xanthic form and the axanthic form. So when you're talking about, very vibrant, colorful snake, the axanthics are very beautiful in their own right, but obviously you're not going to get high bright orange, yellow, whatever color with them. But then on the other end of the spectrum with the xanthic, the dominant form with the less common form, you get some of the most brilliantly colored of all the scrub pythons. And this guy right here is a fantastic example. So within the non-axanthic form, essentially, there's quite a variety of color you can get, from kind of like a golden brown all the way to an orange like this. Lots of different shades of yellow, orange in between. And without a doubt, in any case, they're always super vibrant. Particularly, I found that some of these patterned animals can have some really, really spectacular color, although some of the patternless xanthic animals are very bright as well. So if you're able to get your hands on an animal like this, which as of now is pretty rare in the hobby, you're definitely going to be coming across one of the more colorful of the scrub pythons. And of course, in that smaller form, this guy's an adult. He may not even be a full 6 feet long, and frankly, not going to get much bigger than this. And as you can see, great demeanor on this guy as well. So fantastic choice, and without a doubt, one of the most colorful of the scrub pythons. And they'll do this too. So when you talk about colorful scrub pythons, of course you have to talk about Moluccan scrub pythons. This is a little female right here that I have raising up. She's probably about a year and a half old now, wild caught, and I mean, just mind-blowing color. Probably the nicest looking female Moluccan I've ever seen, honestly. Oftentimes the males have more vibrant coloration than the females do, but she's definitely an exception to that rule. And just, man, that gold with the purple and gold tail, those Lakers colors. Frankly, I think a Moluccan scrub at about this size, maybe the next year and a half, might be the best looking snake in the entire world, bar none. Obviously, very much biased on that, but it's really hard to beat that gold and purple. It's not a phenotype that's really seen in a lot of snakes, and especially a snake that can put some size on it too. It's definitely a special look. As far as kind of considering what's the most colorful scrub python, it's hard to deny that it's these guys. There's one caveat to that though, and I'm going to go over that with the next snake we're going to take a look at. But a year and a half to 3-year-old Moluccan scrub python, probably as colorful as you're going to get for scrubs. All right, so now to kind of expand on what I was just talking about with that last snake, this is one of my adult female Moluccan scrubs. And as you can see, she is definitely a bit darker than that previous one. Once females reach sexual maturity, so say 4 or 5 years of age, the first time they go through a cycle where they really get dark, they kind of never fully come back to where they were previously. Males will as well get darker with some age. Obviously, they don't have that same darkening from a reproductive event that the female would have, but it does happen. So this is kind of what you're looking like for an adult female. During the shed cycle period, right after the shed, they look pretty fantastic. And then their colors kind of dull slightly through their next shed cycle. They shed again, and the colors come back. So, it's kind of interesting that way, where you kind of never have the same snake from day to day, which is kind of cool. But just to show for full transparency for everybody, that really bright, brilliant gold snake that you're going to have 2, 3 years old on a Moluccan scrub, that's not what the adults are going to look like. They are still absolutely beautiful. I still think she is just a stunning snake. And they're still, for me, one of my absolute favorites in the entire world. But it is the literal only drawback of this species. They're usually very well mannered, like this girl is right here. They're just big. Their heads are very large compared to the rest of the scrubs. You can see just how chunky it is. And they're, still in the hobby, fairly uncommon. So definitely have that kind of cool factor as well, of the little bit of an exclusivity. But just, like I said, the only drawback is just with age. They do lose a little bit of that color, but not enough to where I would consider this an ugly snake by any stretch of the imagination. She is still absolutely beautiful, and I really hope to get some babies from her one day. All right, so we have a bit of an honorable mention here, and that is going to be Barneck scrub pythons. And the reason why I'm kind of describing them is in terms of this video as an honorable mention is because, honestly, when it comes to Barneck scrub pythons, I think they're more significant in terms of their pattern, or sometimes lack thereof, as opposed to their color. With that said, though, an animal like this has color that you cannot deny. This is an animal I've shown on the channel a number of times, and I've said, and still holds true, is my favorite Barneck scrub python in my collection. And I think it goes without saying why. She is just so immaculate. Her colors are just neon, they absolutely pop. And then her pattern is unlike any I've ever seen before. And really, the pattern I think is what makes her a little bit more special than her color, but the color is right up there too. Barneck scrubs come in a ton of different shades. I've done a number of videos all about this. I'll throw a couple pictures on the screen of Barneck scrub pythons with different colors so you can really get the full extent of just how variable they are. So for that reason alone, I'm not going to put them necessarily on the list, but an animal like this definitely deserves an honorable mention. So in years to come, when we get better at understanding exactly what different line breeding is going to do, how different animals pair up, what those offspring are going to look like, you could definitely select for color when it comes to Barnecks. I have found it's much easier so far to select for pattern, but with that said, color can't be too far behind as far as level of difficulty goes. This girl in particular, her pairing was one that I kind of had high hopes as far as color goes, and it definitely has not disappointed. The mom, who I'll also throw up on the screen, probably the most golden Barneck scrub python I've ever seen in person. It definitely passed on to her, but not quite the same shade yet. This animal isn't even 2 years old yet, so the color change is not complete. The color change also is another reason why I don't necessarily have Barnecks on this list. They go through a majority of their color change within the first 3 sheds, but then their color kind of keeps progressing for about the first 5 years of life. Obviously, the further on you get in that timeline, the less it changes. You will still get significant changes after 4 years old. So if you are looking for a scrub python for the sake of high color, a Barneck is going to be a little bit more of a playing the lottery type of situation than, say, a Moluccan, a highland, etc., where you have a little bit of a better idea that this is going to be a more colorful animal. With that said, though, can't deny that a scrub python like this is up there with the most colorful of them all. All right, so finally to the locality that I think is the most colorful of all of the scrub pythons that we have available here in the US, and that is the Aru scrub python. This is one of the males that I produced last year, and for any of you who didn't see the video, that was the first clutch ever produced in the United States, something that I'm very, very proud of, and this is definitely the kind of standout of the clutch right now. He is just absolutely stunning. So the sire of the clutch, who we'll be taking a look at here in a second, he is to me essentially kind of like a hypo looking animal, but still nothing too out of the ordinary for the Aru locality. And from literally the day that this individual hatched, I knew that he was going to be very special. So I guess before I go too much further into Aru, a pretty stark omission from this list right here are the animals from the island of Key, or Kai, depending on how you want to pronounce it. Frankly, I'm not sure which one is proper. But the reason why I'm not including the animals from that island on this list is because they're not available in the US trade. So to me, I think it's kind of almost pointless to put them on the list, considering that you couldn't even get one if you wanted to, myself included. I have one male right now in my collection, but he's quite old, so I don't really consider him part of kind of the breeding colony of scrub pythons that I have. With that said, though, there's probably a good argument to be made that those are the best looking of all the scrub pythons, but considering that they're not available, they are not going to be on this list. The most similar scrub python to those are these, the Arus right here, and frankly, they don't even need a comparison to the key animals to be considered so incredible. The way that I kind of describe Aru scrub pythons is that they're basically like an orange diamond python. So imagine a diamond python, how beautiful they are, that incredible pattern, and then just kind of put an orange filter over it that also kind of turns their tail purple. To me, it's hard to kind of beat that look really in any circumstance. A lot of the wild caught animals are just absolutely stunning. The amount of potential that exists for line breeding, or even aside from line breeding, just refining that look in captivity, is truly endless. And animals like this right here are the first steps towards getting there. And the thing about the Arus that I think kind of puts them at the top above the Moluccans is the fact that they don't have that dulling out phase into adulthood that I described earlier, which is really a huge difference. With those Moluccans, you kind of get the best version of the animal when it's younger, and when they get older, they're still very gorgeous animals, but they don't quite have that pop they did when they were young. Arus are the exact opposite. They're going to look the best they will ever look tomorrow. They never reach a point where they kind of go past that peak appearance. So for that reason alone, I think I'm going to put the Arus a tad bit above the Moluccans on the list. And frankly, I think they deserve it. They have been very much overlooked in the hobby for a very long time, the Arus, and really just because they have not been very available. For the longest time, could be said that a lot of scrub enthusiasts didn't even know what an Aru scrub was, and it wouldn't have been any fault of theirs. They just hadn't seen them. Another thing that kind of hurt was that for a while, some of the importers that used some of the more unscrupulous tactics of sales used this label Aru Type 2, which has since been long gone, and for good reason. And Aru Type 2 was just taking some Southerns that looked nicer or a little different, calling them Aru Type 2 to be able to sell them for more money. And frankly, I got back in the day too by that. Still got a gorgeous Southern out of it, but nonetheless, definitely not an Aru scrub. This is the appearance you will find on that island. You're not going to find that appearance outside of the island. So don't get fooled by Aru Type 2, but because of that, it kind of also hurt the cause of these guys really becoming more popular, more out there, more visible. So this is what I think is the most colorful scrub python in captivity. And for a lot of reasons, I'm going to show you guys dads so you really get an idea of how they look as adults. And, I think that these guys are going to be very popular in the hobby for years to come. All right, so now here's the adult male, the snake that I said almost kind of has like a hypo look to him, and he is just absolutely incredible. From the day I got him, I knew that there was something very special about this snake, and I've been very thankful to have him for as long as I have. About 7 years now, and like I said, he is the sire of my clutch from last year. He's a great breeder, and hopefully the sire of many more babies to come. But this look is really one that I haven't seen on another Aru. And even, despite him having a bit of a different phenotype, you can really just see how beautiful these snakes are when they're adults. That orange purple coloration, obviously his colors are a bit on the more hypo washed out side than you would see on some other individuals. You get some really nice rich oranges. They really do come in a spectrum as far as the shade of the colors go. Not as much as far as the diversity of what the colors themselves may actually be, as say you would get with maybe Barnecks or Northern/Lamina scrubs. But I couldn't think of a better animal to close the video out with on the topic of most colorful scrub pythons. All right, everybody, thank you for checking out that video. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe here on the YouTube channel. Please like and share. I drop a new video every single Friday here on the channel. And if you want to support everything that I have going on here on the YouTube channel or on my podcast as well, please visit patreon.com/CushReptile. It is the absolute best way to support everything that I have going on. All members of all tiers immediately get 50% of their membership fee as a credit towards any future animal that they want to acquire from me, and that credit never expires. Also, as a member of the Patreon, you get first access to any animals that I make available anywhere before the public does, in the order of the tiers. So if there's a project that I have that you've been eyeing for a long time, the best way to ensure you have access to it is by going over to the Patreon. Like I just stated, I also have a podcast as well. It is called Cush's Corner, and is on the Trap Talk Reptile Network, live every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. It is also available as a playback on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, all of the major podcast platforms if you're an audio fan like myself. I'm also on Morph Market at Cush Reptile as well. That's where you can find my availability at any given time. I'm also on Instagram at Scrub Shepherd, Stephen Cush on Facebook, and please also check out the Somalia group on Facebook. That is my group that I run, all about Somalia, scrub pythons and Boelen's pythons. So for any Somalia fans, that is the place to go. We've developed a really amazing community over there, and it is always growing. All of the links to everything that I just said are in the description below, so please check it all out. Once again, thank you guys for checking out the video, and I'll catch you all back here next week for a new one.